You're watching the chapter number 10 of the Blender Materials Textures and Nodes course, Advanced Textures. In this chapter, we'll be understanding about these topics in complete detail and will even use them in the retro gaming arcade scene that we have been creating in this course. And for anyone who is new to this course, do watch the previous 9 chapters by using the link of the playlist given in the pinned comment. So I've opened this materials file where we created this material in the last chapter by using the magic texture node, and in today's chapter, our first topic will be to understand about IES texture node. Now the IES texture is used to match real world lights based on some IES files. To make you understand this in a better way, let's first understand the full form of IES. So IES stands for Illuminating Engineering Society, and this IES texture will use a particular file that we can download online, and it will describe how the light will be distributed in our scene. To understand it practically, let's first add a spotlight in the scene. And yes, because I already told you that the IES texture node is used to impact the lighting in the scene, as a result, we'll be adding the IES node in the node system of the spotlight. So press Shift plus A, then go to light and select the spotlight. And yes, it's not compulsory to select the spotlight only. If you want, you can get similar results with the area light or the point light or the sunlight, but just for showing it with an example, I am selecting the spotlight. Let's move it up in the Z axis and place it over here. After this, go to the shader editor, and with the spotlight selected, we'll now add the IES texture node. So to begin, first enable the use nodes by clicking here, and this will give us the default node system for the spotlight, where we have the emission shader because the spotlight is emitting the light and it is connected to the light output, because of which we are able to see the effect of light in the scene. This is very similar to the material output node that we used to see for mesh objects. For example, in this UV sphere also, we have this material output node which can be used for surface and volume materials. Now let's select the spotlight again, and to add the IES texture, press Shift plus A, then go to texture and select the IES texture. Let's place it over here. Now before moving ahead, we first have to download the IES files that we'll use in this node to create the lighting effect. So here we have this website which is ieslibrary.com, and on this website you will find plenty of files that you can download for using in the IES texture node. In fact, with each file you also have this image which shows the distribution of light in the scene for that particular file. For example, I'll select this particular file, and to download it, simply left click here and then click on Download IES. After this, the downloading will begin in a few seconds, and now to use the file in this particular node, first click on External and then click on this folder icon. Now open that particular folder where you downloaded that file, then select it and click on Accept. After this, take the factor socket and connect it to the strength in the emission node, and to see its effect, click here and turn on the scene world. Also, go to the object data properties and increase the power to around 250 watts, and now let's also hide the point lights that we previously added in the scene, and with this we are getting this particular distribution of light from the spotlight. In fact, you can even control the strength of this texture from the strength parameter here. If I reduce it, the strength of the lighting will reduce, and if I increase it, the strength will increase. Also, I think that we should bring down the power to around 30 or 40 watts, and this is how it looks now. And yes, to see how the spotlight will look without the IES texture, simply hold the Alt button, then left click and drag the node away to remove the connection. And now you can see the difference between this regular spotlight and the one that we created with the IES texture. Now in a similar way, we'll be creating one more light with some other file. So for this, press 7 on the numpad to go to the top view. Let's zoom out, then press G to move the light and place it over here. Create a duplicate of this light by pressing Shift plus B and move it in the X-axis like this. And for the second light, we'll be downloading one more file with the IES texture. So I've again opened this website and will now download this particular file by clicking on the download button. Now to use that file for the IES texture of the second spotlight, simply click on this folder icon, then open the folder where you saved that particular file, then select it and click on Accept. And by doing this, we now have a different distribution of light in the scene because of this spotlight. Also, you can try to increase the power or the intensity of the light from here in order to see the distribution of light in a much better way. So you can clearly notice the difference between these two spotlights having different files in the IES texture node. So whenever you want to have some special lighting effects in your scene, then you can use the IES textures for that particular light. In fact, I would suggest you to download some more IES files from that website that we just visited and try to understand the difference between each one. But for now, we'll move on to the next topic of this chapter, which is the Voronoi texture. And to understand about it, I'll first disable the scene world in the viewport shading menu, and then I'll also delete both of these spotlights. Let's delete this one also. And in the scene collection, let's also unhide the original lights back in the scene. Now to use the Voronoi texture, I'll select this UV sphere, then go to the shader editor, select the magic texture and the color ramp node and press X to delete. Now press Shift plus A, then go to texture and select the Warner texture. We'll place it over here, and first of all, I'll take the distance socket in the Warner texture and connect it to the base color, and by doing this, we get this texture with some black spots on white background. If I try to increase the scale value in the Warner texture, then the number of black spots will increase and the scaling of texture will change. Then over here, we have the option to control the detailing, and if I increase it, the detailing of the texture will increase. Similarly, with the roughness value, we can control the blending of the texture for the material. After this, we have the randomness, and if I reduce this to 0, then now the texture will have no randomness, and as a result, we are getting this grid light pattern applied on the UV sphere. However, if I keep on increasing this value, then slowly the randomness of the texture will begin to increase, resulting in the formation of this texture with the black spots on the white background. Now do remember that we got this result with the walnut texture when we used the distance socket for connecting to the base color. However, if I now take the color socket and connect it to the base color, then in this case, we'll get a colorful geometric pattern with a number of different faces applied on the UV sphere. Similarly, if I now take the position socket and connect it to the base color, then we'll get a texture with a slight gradient effect where you can see the change of color from blue-green to the pink color. And apart from these colors, you will also notice these geometric shapes applied on the texture, which can be controlled by the randomness value in the Warner texture. If I bring it down to 0, you will only notice these square faces on the texture. However, as I begin to increase this value, we'll begin to see these geometric shapes. Also, I will now connect the color socket to the base color, and after that, if I left click over here, then this menu will appear where you will find different options for the feature output, and with each one you will get a different result, so you can try to switch to different feature outputs in order to get some different results in the Warner texture. Like the smooth F1 is exactly the same as the F1, but the only difference is that the blending or merging of different shapes with each other is being shown with a blurred effect in smooth F1. Similarly, if I change this to distance to edge and then connect the distance socket to the base color, then we get a completely different texture which can be used for creating a scale texture. For example, you can use it to create the skin of a reptile or a dragon. Now moving ahead, if I change this back to F1 and connect the color socket to the base color, then here we can also use the color ramp node in order to change the colors of this pattern. So to do this, press Shift plus A, then go to converter and select the color ramp node. Now place it in between the Warner texture and the principal BSDF. Now with the black pointer selected, I'll change the color from here, so increase the brightness, and for the first one, I'll select the red color. By doing this, you will begin to notice some shades of the red color applied on this pattern. Similarly, I'll now select the second pointer, and for this one, I'll change the color to blue. Apart from this, you can also add some more colors by clicking on the plus icon here and change the color by using this color wheel. So for this one, I'll choose the green color, and now we have a combination of the red color, green color and the blue color on this Warner texture. Similarly, let's now add 2 more pointers for some more colors, and I'll change the color of this pointer to the orange color, and for the other pointer, let's change this to the yellow color. After this, it's also important to ensure that all of these pointers are evenly distributed away from each other so that we have an even distribution of these colors on the pattern. And to do this thing, one way is to manually left click and drag different pointers like this, but a much easier way is to click here and select distribute stops evenly. And with this, we now have all the colors evenly distributed on this texture. And if you want, you can also change the color of any of these pointers by simply selecting it and changing it by using the color wheel. Now let's also save this material of the Warner texture that we just created in the material asset library, about which we learned in the first chapter of this course. So for this, let's first rename this material by left clicking here, and I'll change its name to Voronoi. After this, go to the scene collection, and in the sphere, select this material, then right click and select mark as a set. And with this, we have now learned about the IES texture and the Warner texture in this chapter. And if you want to download this file with all the different materials that we are saving in this course, then you can join the Patreon, whose link is added in the description of this video. And so now it's the time to use the concepts that we learned today in the retro gaming arcade scene that we are creating in this course. So I've opened this scene in the material preview mode, and in the last chapter, we created this wood texture and applied it to some of the faces of the gaming machine. And today, we'll be applying the Warner texture that we just created on the spherical part of the gaming controls. Also, we'll set the color of the cylindrical part of both of these controls to the red color. So to do this thing, with this control selected, press tab to enter the edit mode, then deselect everything, and with the cursor over the cylinder, press L. Now in the material properties, select the red material and click on the assign button. After this, return back to the object mode and create a slot for a new material. Now to use the Warner texture that we created in the materials file and saved in the material library, we have to change this window to the asset browser. So click here and select the asset browser. Then select the Warner texture, drag it and drop it on this slot number 3. Now to apply this material to the spherical part, simply press tab to enter the edit mode, deselect everything, and with the cursor over the sphere, press L, and with the Warner texture selected in the material properties, click on the assign button. After this, we'll do the same thing with this control also. So with the spherical part selected, I'll change this material by clicking here and type Voronoi and select this material. Now return back to the object mode. And finally, this is how this Voronoi material is looking on the game controls. If you want, you can change the properties like the scaling, the colors in the shader editor. So first of all, I'll increase the randomness to 1. Let's also bring down the roughness value in order to give this a shiny appearance. Then for the colors, I'll change the yellow color to the pink color. And let's also change the color of this purple pointer to maybe blue, and now it looks perfect. After this, let's go to the rendered preview mode in order to see how the texture will look in the final version. And with this, we have now learned about the practical usage of this Warner texture. And also, this brings us to the end of this chapter. And before ending, if you want to download the Blender file containing the complete retro gaming arcade scene, then do join the Patreon, whose link is available in the description. And so our next chapter will be the chapter number 11, using shaders together. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel, press that notification bell so that you can get timely updates about the upcoming chapters. Thank you for watching and we'll see you in the next one.